The Witch's Pact, a tale of magic and sacrifice. Eliza Trent lived in a small, secluded village nestled in the shadow of the mountains, where the fog clung to the rooftops like a shroud, and the air always carried a faint chill, even in the height of summer. The villagers adored her. A young woman with gentle hands and a soothing voice who seemed to know just the right herbs and remedies to ease their ailments. Whether it was a child's fever, a farmer's aching back, or a mother's lingering cough, Eliza always seemed to have the cure. Her small, ivy-covered cottage stood at the edge of the village, where the forest began its creeping claim over the land. The villagers would often visit her, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and reverence, and Eliza never turned them away. They called her kind and good, speaking of her with soft admiration, as though her very presence brought a sense of peace to their troubled lives. Some whispered that she was blessed by the earth itself, a gift to the village in times of sickness and hardship, but Eliza had a secret. Eliza Trent's mother had once been branded a witch, a name that echoed through the village with fear and suspicion. It was a dangerous label, one that lingered long after her mother was gone, leaving Eliza haunted by the shadow of it. She, too, carried the same secret, a secret woven into her very being. There was magic inside her, an ancient power that simmered just beneath her skin, waiting to be unleashed. But Eliza kept it hidden. She dared not speak of it, not even to those she trusted most. The fear was always there, gnawing at her insides like a slow poison. She had seen how the villagers looked at her mother before her death. The whispered accusations, the sideways glances, the way people avoided their home as if a curse lay over it. Eliza knew what would happen if they discovered her secret. They would call her names worse than they had called her mother. And if fear took root in their hearts, it could grow into something far more dangerous: hatred. She imagined the angry mob, their faces twisted with fury, torches blazing against the night as they came for her. The mere thought sent a cold shiver down her spine. So she used her magic only in the dead of night, when no one could see. Alone, she practiced in the dark corners of her small cottage, her hands trembling as she conjured a flicker of light or whispered an ancient incantation. But even in those moments of solitude, Eliza could not shake the fear. She feared her own power just as much as she feared what the villagers would do if they ever found out. Eliza lived a quiet life, always careful not to show her magic. She wanted to be safe and keep her secret hidden. One chilly autumn morning, the village awoke to an unsettling discovery. Old man Havers was found lying near the well, his body bruised and covered in deep scratches. His eyes, wide with terror, seemed to stare into some unseen abyss. Around him, strange symbols were etched into the dirt, markings no one had ever seen before. They twisted and spiraled in ways that made the villagers' heads ache just to look at them. Whispers spread like wildfire. That evening, Martha, the blacksmith's wife, was found near the edge of the forest, her hands trembling uncontrollably. Her legs were scratched, as if she'd run through thorny underbrush. But the cuts seemed too deliberate, too precise. Again, those same eerie symbols were found carved into the ground beside her. They glistened with a strange, dark substance that no one dared touch. Whispers spread like wildfire. That evening, Martha, the blacksmith's wife, was found near the edge of the forest, her hands trembling uncontrollably. Her legs were scratched, as if she'd run through thorny underbrush. But the cuts seemed too deliberate, too precise. Again, those same eerie symbols were found carved into the ground beside her. They glistened with a strange, dark substance that no one dared touch. The air grew thick with fear. Villagers clutched their rosaries and amulets tighter, speaking in hushed tones about curses and dark magic. By the third day, 3 more people had been found in similar states, hurt, shaken, and marked by those same cryptic symbols. The once bustling streets of the village were now silent, save for the frantic murmurs about something unnatural taking hold. A man named Inspector Blackwood arrived in the village one overcast afternoon, his dark coat billowing in the wind as he dismounted from his horse. He cut an imposing figure, tall and broad-shouldered, with a stern face etched by years of relentless investigation. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the village with the cold precision of a predator sizing up its prey. Blackwood was not a man to be trifled with. His reputation for solving the unsolvable preceded him, and the villagers knew it. Word of his arrival spread quickly, and soon whispers of fear and suspicion crept through the narrow streets. It wasn't just his appearance that unsettled them, it was his purpose. He had come to root out the source of the strange happenings that had plagued the village, and he would stop at nothing until he found the truth. He wasted no time, moving from house to house, his boots crunching on the gravel as he interrogated anyone he encountered. His questions were precise, relentless, and unnerving. "Have you noticed anything strange? Who have you seen coming and going?" His piercing gaze lingered on each face, searching for even the slightest hint of deception. No one was spared from his scrutiny. He examined their homes, their routines, their relationships. Every answer was met with a calculating silence, as if he was assembling a puzzle in his mind, piece by piece. The villagers grew uneasy under his unrelenting focus. They had secrets of their own, small and private things. But in the presence of Inspector Blackwood, every hidden thought felt dangerously exposed. And yet, he remained unsatisfied. He knew there was more, something lurking beneath the surface. Something that the villagers either couldn't or wouldn't reveal. His frustration simmered beneath his calm exterior. But Inspector Blackwood was nothing if not patient. He would find what he was looking for, no matter how deeply it was buried. Inspector Blackwood had long prided himself on his sharp instincts. In the quiet village where nothing much ever seemed to happen, strange events had begun to occur, events that had no easy explanation. Blackwood, ever the skeptic, found himself drawn to Eliza. There was something about her, something unsettling. She moved through the village like a shadow, always present, but never quite noticed. He began to watch her more closely. His curiosity mixed with suspicion. It seemed that whenever something odd happened, Eliza was never far behind. He started making note of her movements, observing her from a distance. At first, he noticed little things, how she'd visit the homes of the sick under the cover of night, carrying small pouches filled with herbs, strange powders, and objects he couldn't identify. Her remedies worked, that much was undeniable. But there was something about the way she administered them, the strange rituals she seemed to perform when she thought no one was watching. Blackwood often caught glimpses of her lips, moving in whispered incantations, though he could never quite make out the words. And her eyes, those sharp, knowing eyes, often scanned the surroundings as if she could sense someone observing her. Eliza felt worried. She tried to act normal, but she knew Blackwood was getting closer to discovering her secret. She started to avoid him, but that only made him more curious. Every day, Blackwood watched her more closely. Eliza felt the danger growing. She knew she had to be careful, or her secret would be out. Eliza was very worried. She knew she had to keep her secret safe. Inspector Blackwood was watching her closely, so she tried to be extra careful. She began to change her routines. Instead of going to the market every day, she went only once a week. She always took different paths to avoid being seen. When she helped people, she made sure no one saw her using anything unusual. Eliza also tried to be careful with her words. When people asked her about the strange things happening in the village, she said she did not know anything. She tried to act calm and normal, but no matter what she did, Blackwood seemed to get closer. He started asking more questions about her family and her past. He even talked to her neighbors. Eliza felt trapped. Every time she tried to hide something, it seemed like Blackwood found out more. She knew she needed a plan to stay safe, but she did not know what to do next. Inspector Blackwood was very determined to catch Eliza. He thought she was hiding something, so he made a plan to trap her. One night, Blackwood secretly took some of Eliza's herbs from her house. He placed them in a hidden spot and then made it look like someone had used magic with them. He wanted everyone to think Eliza was using dark magic. The next day, Blackwood showed the herbs to the villagers. He told them that these were signs of magic and that they were found near Eliza's home. The villagers became very angry. They started to talk badly about Eliza. Blackwood then made sure Eliza found out about the new evidence against her. He hoped she would panic and make a mistake. Eliza was frightened when she heard what was happening. She knew Blackwood was trying to trap her. She tried to stay calm, but she felt helpless. It seemed like everyone was starting to believe Blackwood's story. Eliza knew she had to do something to fight back. She couldn't let Blackwood's trap ruin her life. She decided to find out more about what he was planning. First, Eliza tried to find out where Blackwood had hidden the herbs. She went to the spot where the villagers had seen the evidence. She looked carefully, but did not find anything. She began to worry that she might not be able to prove her innocence. Next, Eliza tried to talk to people who knew her well. She told them that Blackwood was lying. She tried to explain that he was setting her up, but many people did not believe her. They thought she was just making excuses. Eliza also tried to find out more about the strange symbols and magic that were causing the trouble in the village. She hoped that if she could find the real source of the magic, she could show that Blackwood was wrong. But every time she thought she was close to finding something, she ended up going in circles. Eliza felt like she was running out of time. Each attempt to clear her name seemed to make things worse. She began to lose hope, but she knew she had to keep trying. One evening, a mysterious woman appeared in the village. Her name was Ravenna. She dressed in dark clothes and spoke in a quiet voice. No one knew where she came from. Ravenna came to Eliza and said, "I know Blackwood is not telling the truth. He is trying to trick everyone." Eliza was surprised and asked, "How do you know this?" Ravenna said she was a powerful sorcerer and had been watching what was happening in the village. She told Eliza that the real trouble was caused by someone else using dark magic. Blackwood was only trying to blame Eliza for it. Ravenna offered to help Eliza find the true source of the dark magic. She said, "We must work together to stop the real culprit and prove your innocence." Eliza was both relieved and worried. She did not fully trust Ravenna, but knew she needed help. She agreed to work with her, hoping that Ravenna could help her solve the mystery and clear her name. Eliza and Ravenna worked together to find the true source of the dark magic. They discovered that the real culprit was a man from another village. His name was Gideon, and he had been using magic to harm people and make it look like Eliza was guilty. One night, Eliza, Ravenna, and Inspector Blackwood went to Gideon's hiding place. It was an old, abandoned house on the edge of the forest. They found Gideon inside, working on his dark magic. Eliza stepped forward and said, "Gideon, we know you are the one using dark magic. Stop it now." Gideon laughed and said, "You think you can stop me? I have the power to make everyone believe what I want." A fierce battle started. Ravenna used her magic to fight Gideon, while Blackwood tried to stop him too. Eliza watched closely, trying to find a way to help. In the middle of the fight, Blackwood and Gideon faced off. Gideon attacked Blackwood, but Eliza quickly used her magic to protect him. She was afraid, but knew she had to act. Finally, Ravenna managed to defeat Gideon. The dark magic he used was destroyed, and the village was safe again. Eliza felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. She had faced the real threat, but it had been a difficult battle. After Gideon was defeated, the danger seemed to be over. But there was still one big problem. Gideon's dark magic had caused a lot of harm, and it was not completely gone. Ravenna explained to Eliza, to truly stop the magic and fix everything, someone must make a big sacrifice. It could be their life or their powers. Eliza felt scared but knew she had to make a choice. She looked at Blackwood, who was injured but alive. She could see that he was struggling with his own feelings about everything that had happened. Eliza decided that she would sacrifice her own magical powers to save the village. She knew that her powers were the only thing that could fix the damage left by Gideon's magic. She said, "I will give up my magic. It is the only way to make things right." Ravenna nodded, and with a sad but understanding look, she helped Eliza use her magic one last time. Eliza used her powers to heal the village and remove the dark magic completely. As the magic faded, Eliza felt weaker. Her powers were gone, but the village was safe. The people began to see that she was not to blame for the troubles. Blackwood thanked her for her bravery, and the villagers slowly started to trust her again. Eliza had given up something very important to help everyone, but she felt proud knowing she had done the right thing. With Eliza's magic gone, the village started to heal. The people were grateful and welcomed Eliza back. They no longer thought she was a witch, and they began to trust her again. Inspector Blackwood was also changed. He saw how brave and selfless Eliza had been. He felt guilty for doubting her. He decided to stay in the village and help make things better. Ravenna said goodbye to Eliza. She left as mysteriously as she had arrived. Eliza did not know if she would see her again. As time passed, Eliza lived a quieter life. She helped the villagers in other ways and tried to forget the troubles of the past. But sometimes she would look at the forest and wonder if there were still secrets hidden there. The village was safe for now, but Eliza knew that life could be full of surprises. She remained careful and hopeful, always ready for whatever might come next.